Hello, 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 and welcome back to another YouTube Live, YouTube/Facebook Live. And I'm so excited to have the beautiful, the amazing Chamica Nicole back again. So
I'm so
our energy has just been vibing, it's been great. So we're gonna
no,
go.
like I'm so excited.
I know, no, me too. We did one yesterday on Instagram, and we're doing this one today. This is our second time together on YouTube. This is their second time coming back to my YouTube. So excited. So we're gonna give people a chance to come on to let us know that we started. And how are you doing? So while we're waiting, nobody's on yet. While we're waiting for people to come on, um, thank you for joining me last night on uh, adult conversations. That was fun. That was really fun. And yeah, I think between that and our live yesterday, we kind of came up with today's conversation. People are coming on. Welcome. As you're coming on, please say hello, say hi, and welcome to my YouTube Live with Chamica Nicole, known as the Butterfly Mystic on Instagram. We're going to be talking about consent, boundaries, and double standards. So it's so interesting. If you're coming on and you've seen I May Destroy You, put in here, I've seen I May Destroy You. And so Shamika hasn't seen it yet, but I've been watching it, and I May Destroy You touches on all of these things. It's based out of the UK. It's about these women and just their relationships. And it just shows all of the things that's happening, like with boundaries and consent from the opening, and I don't want to do a spoiler alert if anybody hasn't watched it, but just in terms of the topics, um, it's getting a lot of people to see that they may have not fully given consent in sexual relationships. And hello, a healer's playground. So you haven't seen it? Okay. So I won't give any spoiler alerts, but it's really good, really good. Um, but it talks about all of these things that we're going to be talking about today, consent, boundaries, double standard. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. So, Shamika, if you want to introduce yourself really quick for those of you who don't know you, and I just want to say hi to those who are coming on. Much love and respect. And I don't know why this is doing this now, but it's showing Facebook user. So I'm not able to see your name on here. It says Facebook user. As you come on and you say hello from Facebook, say hi and your name so I could know. All right. So, Shamika.
Hello, everyone. I'm so excited to be back on. My name is Chamica Nicole, and I am a woman who does many things. Right? I don't know that I have a specific title, but I'm definitely a freedom fighter. I help women and now men break through any blocks, barriers, and trauma that they've experienced, and really just to free yourself and get to know yourself. So I do that through hypnotherapy, yoga, Reiki, energy work, and coaching. So lots of things. Oh, I'm also the creator of Pussy Tea. You gotta say pussy on
Welcome.
here. You got to say it first yesterday.
Yes. Awesome. So thank you. Hello, Facebook user, also known as Anthony Turner from Thailand. Welcome. So let's start with consent. Let's start with that. So one of the things, a couple of things, I'm not going to go into detail, but like, and I May Destroy You. There were a couple different scenes. Okay, sorry, spoiler alert. I'm going to go ahead and give a spoiler alert because I can't without saying. But anyway, there's a couple of scenes. One where the lady was date raped. She was given a roofie. Then there was another scene where another lady, consented to having a threesome, but it wasn't full because it looked like maybe the two guys actually already knew each other, but was pretending not to. And so, it just makes you think about consent. And it's not just saying that only men do this to women. Women do this to men too. There's, both. I don't want to have this double standard, right? Because that's part of it too. But there's a lot of times in relationships where we think we're giving consent and we don't want to give consent, but then we feel like we're pressured to give consent, we feel like we have to have sex or we have to do this, even though we may not want to. And so, so we want to talk about that today. We want to talk, and that's all connected to boundaries as well. What are the boundaries when someone comes to your house and you're like, okay, you don't want to have sex with them, but you want to just maybe get to know them, then they're pressuring to have sex. So what are these things? And those who are coming on, we want to hear from you too. Have you been in a situation where boundaries were crossed, or maybe you didn't fully give consent, or maybe you took away somebody else's consent? We'd love to hear from you. So I'm going to
Yeah,
stop talking so much. Go
definitely.
ahead, Shamika.
No, so it just made me think about the fight or flight, right? A lot of times
Mhm,
when if you're dating somebody or just even hanging out with somebody and it's late night, there is this expectation that because you've hung out with them late at night, and had so many clients who had sex with somebody just because they were hanging out with them and they kept being pressured, and they thought if they didn't have sex with this person, then um, then they may actually take it, and they're like, okay, I was alone, it was late at night, I was at his home or apartment or what have you, so people are going to look at me and say that I was at fault, and then there comes like the whole victim blaming, right? That it goes into a whole other aspect of this, but a lot of times women will say yes just because they're feeling like they're pressured or they feel boxed in, or that fight or flight kicks in, and it's like, shit,
mhm,
I got caught in a situation where I just thought we were just going to hang out, and now he's pressuring me for this. And do I say yes? If I say no, is he going to take it on anyways? So then maybe it's
mhm,
just better if I give it to him. And to me, I'm like, that aspect of even having to be in a situation like that where
mhm.
you feel like you have to make a choice of, okay, fine, I'll just go ahead and give it to you, because if I don't, you may just take it.
Yes. So, and I've actually been in that situation, um, a few times. And if you're on here and you're watching and you've been in that situation and you feel comfortable enough, please say. So, I've been a couple times where, I've dated guys and I've flirted, and, you flirt naturally. Then we go back to the house, or I go back to his house. And and I remember one specifically, then he was, trying, pressuring to have sex with me. And I was like, no, I don't really want to. And he kept trying. And then I really felt like, okay, well, I'm in this situation now where I'm in his house and he's really being persistent. Um, if I say no, will he rape me? If I say no and you rate me, will somebody believe me? Because it's late, I'm at his house, and people are
Right.
going to be like, well, what were you doing there anyway? So it was all these different things. And it's so difficult and subtle because, yes, it was someone that I liked, someone who I was interested in, and who I would have wanted to have sex with, but I just wasn't ready at that time. And
Right.
so, I ended up saying yes, even though I didn't really want to for that day, you know? And so I know that there's so many other women who've been in that situation, and I'm speaking from female point of view, but I want to hear from men too, because I know this happens to men as well. And you feel pressured, and from the male's perspective, you feel like, oh man, I got to be a man. I may not want to, but I need to. Like, she's coming, and if I don't, she's gonna think I'm gay, or so there's all these different pressures where we end up doing something that we may not really want to. You
Right.
know.
Definitely. I actually was reading an article on statistics, and it really was basically focused on rape culture and blame, right? And
Hmm.
what was interesting to me was that 70% of women felt like if a woman didn't have sex with a man or was like out with a man late at night, then they were like, it was not rape. It was not considered non-consensual because she was with him or because she went on a date with him. If it was a second date, and it was so crazy to read all of these questions that they had asked people, and to see people say, like women especially, saying no. It's not, he's not wrong if he takes it in that instance, if she went to dinner with him more than once and things like that. I'm like,
Hmm.
what world are we in that makes that
Hmm.
okay?
Right, right. What world is that okay? You know? So, but, it's like when we're in these relationship things, sometimes we don't even realize, we don't realize that I'm putting pressure or I'm doing something that's not okay. So sometimes it's like, I was talking to a client today and she was she was talking about her first experience. She was sexually assaulted, and it was by a woman that this happened to her. So it's not always a man doing to a woman, or
Right.
sometimes women do to men, or women do to women, men do to boys. And she was saying that, and I had said to her, yeah, a lot of times these people who have abused you or sexually assaulted you had been abused as well. And she was saying, yes, she knew that lady who did abuse her had been abused. And so there's this that fine line that sometimes they don't even see it as them crossing a boundary, because that's what they know. So that was in her perspective what she was saying. And so that's interesting. So sometimes people may not necessarily even see that they're crossing a boundary. And then for other people, it's about power. It's about power, dominating, and control, right? Where they want to take power. They need to feel superior, you know?
I can see that. I can see somebody being in a situation, especially because sometimes, men, and I'm only saying men because that's been my personal preference, but
Mm-hmm.
of relating, and I'm pretty sure that women probably do this as well. So I'll just say people, right? Sometimes we'll say no to something, but we really are okay with it, right? And so I could see somebody thinking that maybe, oh, they're just playing hard to get or something like that. But I feel like there's a certain amount of, okay, no, thank you, that is like, okay, that should be final. Where is that
Right,
boundary where that's final? Like you said it once, maybe you tried it twice, and now I've said no, thank you. We're done here. Like there shouldn't even be another question about it. Maybe a
right.
conversation if you want to know where I stand or why I wasn't comfortable going forward, but to try to make me feel guilty or pressure me into it or even threaten to break up or leave the situation, that part to me has got to stop.
It does. It does. And so there's a healer's playground who said guilty of this too, right? That with the double standard. A man said no, but I didn't see it as much because of our relationship, and I pressured him. And
Wow.
so, and so what happens, and a lot of times, again, people don't necessarily see that until we have these conversations. And this is why these conversations are so important, because there's times where people don't necessarily, you know, want to do this out of maliciousness, wanting to hurt someone, and even me, I've been on that other end as well. I remember breaking up with a boyfriend, and then I wanted to just have sex with him. And he was like, no. And I was like, what do you mean, no? Like, what guy's going to say no? Like, I mean, no pressure, no like strings attached. Why would you would say no? And I'm like pressuring him, and he's getting upset with me. And I'm like, well, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, and, that was a younger me. And I was just like, I couldn't understand that. I'm like, you're a man. I thought men would want to do it with whoever, whenever. Don't y'all say that even if you're not interested or she's not attractive, you put a bag over her. And so it was like things that, I didn't
Right.
realize that just wasn't right. It's crossing boundaries, and everyone deserved that right to say yes or no. Everyone deserves that right, even if you've already had sex, to be able to say no, I don't want to at this time for whatever reason,
Right.
and we don't think about that.
Without there being like repercussions, because I've experienced where I said no in a relationship, but then it was kind of held against me later, that I said no. So it was like, oh well, now I'm gonna go date somebody else, or all these other things, instead of just respecting or even having a conversation around the fact that it was, it wasn't a no permanent, it was a not right now.
Hmm. Right. It was a not right now. And so, when you say that, it makes me think of the whole ego, right? Or the self esteem. So sometimes when someone hears no, that it hits that ego, that self esteem. Well, what's wrong with me? Why don't you want to have sex with me? Why don't you want to touch me? Which it may not have anything to do with you. It may or may not. It may just have to do with the other person. Maybe in that moment, that other person is not feeling sexual. Maybe in that moment, that person needs their own space, their own
Right.
time, you know? And so, but then we take it personal. And even sometimes when we're in relationships, we feel like we own the person, like we possess that person. So, if you've already had sex, you've already, did something. So it's like, okay, I want to have it. You should be able to do it whenever I want to, you know?
It's funny because as we're speaking about this, I'm going through my mind and I'm like, okay, I mean, we're not all perfect, right? So I'm
Hmm.
jogging my memory on like when was a time that I did that to somebody else? Like, have I done that
Hmm.
to somebody else? I remember I used to have a rule. It's like,
Hmm.
you better fuck me before we go to sleep.
Before you go where?
To bed. So like
Oh,
at some
okay.
point during the day, there needs to be sex happening at
Right.
some point.
Right.
I never really held anybody to that and was like, oh, you didn't, like, I'm angry with you because you didn't. But I
Hmm.
remember that being a rule for me. And I would like say it when I entered into relationships like, hey, look, I have a super high sex drive. I need sex
Hmm.
like every day and I would like it. But I do remember there being a gentleman where when he didn't, I was mad at him. I was
Hmm.
mad at him. I think it was like 2 weeks by I was so
Hmm.
bothered by that. So I did hold that against him. I was
Right.
bothered. I didn't break up with him, but he definitely didn't get dinner and shit from me for that whole 2 weeks.
And that reminds me, I have an ex too. My very last boyfriend. I had said to him day one, I was like, "Look, I have a high sex drive. I love sex and I love it a lot, and that's the one thing that's a deal breaker. Like if you can't, like if you're not willing to have it a lot, like we're gonna have to end." And this was like 2 years ago, right? We broke up. Well, so anyway, and so he was going through his stuff and like anxiety and all this stuff, and then he got to the point where like a week he didn't want to, he couldn't have sex. He was going through his stuff, and I was just like, hey, a week went by. Like, no, we need to like, and I would get so upset and so frustrated. And then, I masturbate, so I'm fine. And, I would masturbate, but it was like, I still wanted that, I'm in a relationship. I'm like, I want that. But now, even just looking back 2 years later, I've matured even to the point where I'm like, yeah, even though I have this healthy sex drive and I'm in a relationship, he may not want to because he may be going through his things. And again, I say he because that's, I've always had male partners. But
Right.
so your partner might be going through their thing, and you also have to be able to understand and respect what they're going through. A healer's playground says emotional blackmail.
It definitely was, and I kind of cornered him in the closet. He was this man was like a beautiful man, beautiful, beautiful man. But he was 6'4", and I had like dual
Ooh.
masters, and he was like sleeping in one of my closets because he was so mad, or well, he thought I was mad because I was not cooking dinner for him, and I actually like came in the closet like ass naked, like we're gonna do it, like this is gonna happen right now.
Right.
He was excited because he thought I was mad, but I mean that could have very well gone the other way where he could have felt like it
Mhm.
was non-consensual. So I'm grateful that
Yeah.
he was a team player and he was like, he just looked at me. He's like, you're too much.
And that makes me think, um, communication is key. Communication is everything. And, if you're going through those changes and you're going through those moments, communicate and just, talk like this is what I'm needing, this is what I'm feeling. And then your partner could say, well, this is what I'm going through. And then, you do that communication, you can, work together to say, okay, let me give you space right now for this week or this day or this two, give you that space that you need and allow you to, get to the point in your own where you can come back to that making love. But communication is the most important thing.
I
So,
agree. Communication and respect. You definitely got to have
and
those
respect.
two. Even if it's friendships, right? Even in friendships, we do things that
Hmm.
may be considered like non-consensual, right? Of course, we are mainly focusing on the sexual aspect of it, but there's so many other ways that we kind of don't ask or we cross boundaries with people just in relating,
Hmm.
period, regardless of if it's a intimate relationship or a friendship.
Right, right. Yes, yes. And then that's important too, because a lot of times we don't think about this in just regular friendships or in other types of relationships, whether it's like mother daughter, sisters, brothers. and this communication, respect, boundaries are important in all types of relationships, you know. So, um, um, I'm going to do a little commercial break real quick and say, while you're watching, if you're enjoying so far, hit that like button. I never do this. And so I'm like forcing myself to remember right now to tell you guys to hit that like button and also hit that notification bell that you see up at the top so that you can receive messages when we're doing the lives. While I'm doing that, Chamica, can you pull up the event for Return to Eden on your page so I can put that link in here? And then also hit the subscribe button. That way, you can receive the messages and know when I got lives coming and you can support me. But also in the middle, I do want to say as well, Chamica and I will be doing a Return to Eden workshop August 29th at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And that's going to be we're going to be delving into all of this stuff is connected, right? The focus is going to be doing um, tantric meditations and breath work. We're going to do a sensual activity. We're going to be working on the sexual energy, removing the blockages that you have that's in our heads. Um, all of these things that's connected to to consent, to communication. So that we can have healthier relationships, healthier boundaries. And it is going to be in the nude. Why? Why are we doing this workshop in the nude, Chamica?
Well, I mean, there's no better way than to get to know yourself. A lot of people don't even know who they are, let alone trying to relate to others. And being able to be comfortable in your own skin, in your own body, and the ultimate form of self-love, right? I love
Yes.
me. I'm comfortable with me. I can be with me, and I can share me with others, or I cannot. Plus, I just like to
Awesome.
make it, y'all.
Oh, hi, Judah. Judah is Bowflex. Awesome. That's Bowflex. So I think he said that he's already joined. I'm not sure,
He's
but said
already,
already done.
yeah, yeah, he's already done.
Awesome. Perfect. Um, And so that's the link for those of you who have not signed up yet for the retreat. It's bit.ly Return to Eden. And so it's going to be a great workshop. And, like you said, oh, hold on, I need to charge my computer before it dies. So, yeah. Um, yeah, we're going to be doing it in a new, we're going to be really unpeeling those layers, like the onion, right? Unpeeling those, releasing those blockages, releasing that repression, all of those things so you can get to know who you are, so that you can feel comfortable in your skin. You can get comfortable in your body. And honestly, when you're comfortable in your body, you know yourself, you feel confident in yourself, you have better relationships. Your ego is not going to get into the way when someone says, no, I don't want to right now, because you're going to be confident. You're going to be okay in yourself, And for me, that's one of the biggest things that I had to do to work through on myself. Like to not still be at that point where it's like, no, I need to have sex 2, 3 times a day. If you're saying no, what's wrong? Like, and not feeling like there's something wrong with me, and being able to touch myself, connect to myself. So that's a huge part of this process.
Right. I feel like it builds into an intimate connection with yourself. So we're not so dependent on connection with others, because a lot of times we assume that sex is like connection, but once we get to know ourselves on a deeper level, we start to realize that we can have an intimate connection with somebody that doesn't have to be that doesn't have to be sexual, right?
Right. We're both reading Judah's
I
comment.
you know, well, I'm going to be looking for your ticket to roll out through here soon.
Yes.
Do we still
Yes.
need to take the break, or
I'm sorry.
you're going to take a commercial break?
Oh, I already took the commercial break. Should I take another commercial break? So let's go back to so yesterday, we went on after our live yesterday, and we was on the talk, lady in the street freaking in the bed, right? Freaking the sheets, it was called. Lady in the streets, freaking the sheets. And so the whole double standard, right? And so this is also part of becoming comfortable in ourselves, in our skin, being comfortable in our relationships, and being true to ourselves. So many times, and I want to hear from you guys who are watching, Judah, a Healers Playground, whoever else is on. I want to hear from you. You know, because when we go into the double standard, we want a woman to be a certain way, right? And then at home, we want her to be another way. So you want to have this woman or this man, because a lot of women do the same thing. We want to have this type of person to be our partner, right? They have to meet this, and this. And then in the bed, sometimes you want something completely different. Or you have your partner and you have this ideal standard for your partner, and you don't want to do all of that wild, crazy, freaky stuff, kinky stuff, BDMS stuff. So you'll go out and cheat and do that with someone else. So I really want to hear from you guys as well. What is that about? What do you think? What have you experienced with that? So Judah already commented, or has a question. What do you think about a man who can't perform 3 times a day but pleases you any way possible during the day by touching and oral? That's a great question. You want to go first, and I'll hit that too, or I can
um,
go first. Doesn't
well,
matter.
go for it.
Okay. Okay. So, um, I'm gonna say for like me personally, and I think this is really depends on each person, right? And I think at the heart of things, one of the things that I realized when I did my work, when I was constantly wanting the sex because I was missing something. So even though I was getting the sex, I was still feeling like something was missing. And for me, it was I was needing a validation. I was needing a connection. So now that I'm in a different space and I still have a high sex drive, but I'm not needing it from that place of neediness. Um, and I'm more fulfilled even just from within me. Now I feel like I don't need to have sex 3 times a day. I don't. It doesn't need to be so much. If you're pleasing me in other ways, such as the touching, the caressing, the intelligence, the communication, having meaningful conversations, the oral too is great. Then that's fine. Like honestly, I could say that I've gotten to the point now where those things are can be even more important. So if I'm getting all these other stimulations and you're making me laugh and I'm feeling cared for, taken care of, and then the penetration is not necessary. The penetration itself is not necessarily so important. And then there's so many different ways of having sex. Sex is not just penetration. So sex can be, the conversation, the talking, the caressing, the mental stimulation. Sex is so much more than just that penetration. So that's how I see things now.
Same for me. It's more about intimacy. So when I made the comment earlier about like having a high sex drive and needing it every day, that was in my 20s. And
Mm-hmm.
I had a
Yeah.
similar journey. It was more about learning intimacy and connection, because what I really was seeking from my partner in that moment was the moment before and the moment after, where there was hugging and cuddling and things like that, and not really knowing how to ask for it. So for me at this point in my life, I mean, I still have a super high sex drive, higher than most men, but I still, it's about intimacy and connection and touch. I'm a true sapiosexual, so as long as I'm being stimulated and I'm receiving other things from my relationship, the fact that my partner isn't able to have sex 3 times a day is not as big of an issue for me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes. So, okay, so Healers Playground says, same here. And Judah said, oh my God, I've never talked about this to anyone, but I like your answers. Awesome. Thank you. And I just
Thank
want to
you
also take
for
this.
trusting us.
Yes. And that's what this is all about. Honestly, every Wednesday I have a live every Wednesday, and I have someone on, and we're talking about these topics. We're talking about sex because it's so important to get rid of this taboo. the taboo of sexuality. And you know what? Like, I feel like Chamica's gonna have to be my, a frequent guest. Her and I have a good vibe together. We have a good energy together. But anyway, so it's important to have these conversations, and it helps people to feel more comfortable to talk about these different things and normalize sex. It's so important to normalize sex. And so I want to take it a little bit further, and then we're going to go back to our topic: double standards, consent, and what was it? And boundaries. But I do want to, just because Judah's a male and he brought this up about the pleasing. But I also wanted to bring this extra thing up. You guys are getting a bonus. So you're getting a bonus. So I want to see that you guys subscribe to my channel and hit that like button. Okay. Commercial break. Okay. So one of the things, as men start to get older, a lot of times they can't perform as much as they used to. And so one of the things I work a lot with men on, with tantric massage or just tantric therapy, to teach men other things, how to, like, semen retention, um, how to even go longer without coming. I get a lot of men that come to me with premature ejaculation in their 40s now. So this is happening a lot younger. So men in their 40s, 50s, and then upper are already starting to have premature ejaculation. Why? Because of the stress, because of the eating habits, or not even exercising. So there's a multitude of things that's happening. The culture of watching a lot of porn and masturbating a lot. So you begin to, like, not that I have anything against masturbating, there's nothing wrong with that, but when you do it in excess, you're training your body to come a lot quicker. And so this is why we're seeing an increasing numbers of men having premature ejaculation. So, so it's really important to teach men different things that they could do, different exercises, different ways to work through that, so that this is not an issue when they're in their 60s, 70s, or even, and they can release that right away. And so that's important. And then also learning other type of, like, tantric rituals, so that you can increase the connection, the intimacy, and not feel like you just have to have sex, come, and then go to sleep, So
See, you're all about like the physical work, and me, I take care of like the energetic and the herbal aspects of that. There's so many men who aren't taking care of the actual cleaning out of their sperm, or even like boosting their libido. A lot of men are having really low libidos, and so being able to offer them herbs and things like that to help them sustain.
Yes. You kind of went out, so I didn't hear everything you said, but
yeah, I caught that, but I wasn't quite sure at what point it went out.
Okay. So go ahead. If you want, can you repeat that just in case someone else didn't
I
hear
was
you
just
either?
saying, for me, I'm having a lot of male clients who have lower libidos, and so taking care of like the herbal aspect of boosting their libido through food and herbs.
Yes, so important, so important. And I think part of that is also because maybe men, and I don't know, but a lot more men are taking Viagra even if they don't need it, just to, like, be able to go all night long. And so there's so many different things that's happening that we're seeing that difference. So we're digressing onto the men now. A healer's playground said I heard it all. So those who are on here, any comments that you have, any questions, one about consent, boundaries, double standards, or about return to eat in our workshop. If you have any questions about any of those things, this is your moment now, so that we can answer those questions. And so.
Right. I definitely like to just address the issue on boundaries, because we kind of segued into it like just lightly on from consent. But a lot of times people don't even know what their boundaries are. They don't even know what they want. And so they are maybe a possible, but not definitely, like they're not having a sacred yes. Right. So they're giving the unsacred. They're giving the unsacred yes. And instead of saying a sacred no in that moment, So I really just want to say there's a process that I do with my clients. It's called Boundaries, Fears, and Desires. I actually got it from this amazing lady, Veronica Clark. But it works a lot when you enter into relationships with people and asking them, like, what are your boundaries, fears, and desires around relating to me? You'll ask it like once, like, I'll say to you, Renee, boundaries, fears, and desires. What are your boundaries and fears and desires around us being friends and hanging
Mm-hmm.
out? And then you could answer like, my boundaries are I want to get to know you, but only just lunch and doing YouTubes. Or, my
Right.
fear is that um, if I let you in too much, maybe you might run away, or you might think that I'm too much, or,
Mm-hmm.
whatever fears come up. And then my desire is to experience you and learn from you. Right. And so
Mm-hmm.
that's something that I
Mm-hmm.
have my clients do with friends, with their partners, respectively, and just ask, like, what are your boundaries, fears, and your desires around us
Mm-hmm.
relating and engaging? And it can be something that you ask repeatedly.
Right. Yes. 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 I like that. I typed that in there so you could see. Uh, boundaries, fears, and desires. That's a really good one. Judah says, this is so knowledgeable. Chamica, I know the feeling. Yes. um, yeah. I was just thinking about that because, like, I'm venturing into this new world of the BDSM and kink, and we're learning a lot about the boundaries, right, as well as the fears and desires, right. So, because when you go into this, there needs to be a lot of trust, a lot of safety, and a lot of communication. So, when you enter in that world, you have to be able to communicate. What are your boundaries? What are your hard limits? What are your soft limits? So hard limits are like absolute no's. I won't do this. I won't. Soft limits, maybe I might do that. And so I'm learning a lot more from that aspect of being able to say, okay, what do I wish? What do I desire? What do I want in this relationship? What do I want from me? What do I want from you? And so those are some so important. They are important things to be able to discuss with your partner. But first and foremost, you have to know. And so many times people don't know, right? You're like, what is it that you want? And you could say what you don't want. You're like, I don't want this, I don't want that. But no, what is it that you want? And that's so hard for people to get in touch with and express.
It is. It is. Most people don't know. Most people have never dated themselves, right? I took
Mm-hmm.
time to actually date myself for a year. It was like, let me date myself. Let me do the things that I want somebody else to do. Let me figure out what do I like. So when people ask me, I can at least answer instead of saying, I don't know, what do you like?
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people, and then also being direct. When you set boundaries, you have to be direct in setting your boundaries.
Right.
You can't be like, well, I don't know, maybe I don't like that.
Right.
Maybe I don't want you to do that.
Right. Judah says, I used to have fear of rejection. This boundary stuff is new to me, but it's absolutely correct. Awesome. And I think so many people have fear of rejection, right? Everybody wants to be
Yeah.
heard. Everyone
We
wants to be
do. I think
seen.
it's because
Everyone
we
wants to
take
be
it personal.
accepted. Hmm?
I said they do. I think it's because we take it personal and not
Hmm.
realizing if somebody's saying no to us, they're saying yes to themselves somewhere else.
Yes.
And it doesn't always feel good because sometimes we really want to play with somebody, but um, do we really want to play with somebody who doesn't really want to play with us? You know what I mean? In
Right.
long term, we really don't want that.
True. Very true. Very true. And I like what you said. Saying no to somebody else is saying yes to yourself.
Right.
And that's so important. And we can't take things personally. The Hills Figure and say yes to everything, Shamika. Yes. And so it is really important. It really, really, really is important to be able to not take things personal, not, and we all want to be accepted. Nobody likes rejection. But again, like the way you're thinking about it is not a personal rejection against you. It's saying yes to them. And when you do care about someone, especially if you love someone, you want them to be able to say yes to themselves. You want them to honor and respect themselves, and you want to be able to honor and respect that partner, that person that you love.
Right. You want for your partner what you want for yourself. You want to be loved and honored and loyalty, integrity, all of those things that you want for yourself. So you also want that for your partner, even if that means not choosing you. And it's so weird. Like I came into this lesson at like 17. I
Hmm.
remember my partner no longer wanted to be in a relationship, and he was my very first like everything. And his a girl that he was like his first love had came back into his life, and he wanted to be with her, and he was like, I'm sorry, this is kind of where I want to go. And I
Right.
remember just telling him, I was like, I love you, and I just want you to be happy. And it was weird because I didn't even know, you know what I mean, what I was practicing in that moment. It just felt like I love this person so much. And if I'm not the one that's making you happy, then I want you to be where you're happy. And then I just kind of have continued that through my life. Not to say that it was an easy lesson to, to have to go through once again, but it became easier in saying like, oh, okay, you're, this, if this isn't going to work, then I respectfully wish for you to like find what is going to work for you, and releasing it.
Oh no, yeah, it's going out. Are you there?
I am.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I just got a link that somebody just commented on our. Oh, okay, that was another live video. Never mind. Okay. I was like, I just got a link that somebody commented on your live video, but that was another one I just did. And I was like, why is it not showing up here? So I went on my phone and my Facebook to be like, why is it not showing up here? But that was a live from Monday, I think. But anyway, okay, good. I hear Let's Play On says I hear everything. Okay, good. So I can hear you. Okay. So good. Good. Yeah. Yeah, sorry, I kind of got off with the seeing that notice pop up.
Oh, no
But
worries.
yeah, and these, when we go into the topic of sexuality, when we're talking here, when you were talking, polyamory came up for me, right? Um, because sometimes, and I've been in polyamorous relationships, and I realized that helped me to actually learn boundaries, if that sounds weird, but as well as help improve communication and trust. And so when I entered into the polyamorous, I realized that my partner can love me and love someone else, and it really helped me to not feel rejected. And so, and in the same thing, I had other partners, and then I would also be with my main partner. So, we were our main partners, but he had other people, I had other people as well, and it just really helped me to be able to learn about boundaries, because we had to be clear. This is so, and we had to do that similar to the exercise you said. Okay, what are the boundaries? What is it that you would accept? What don't you accept? So when you're going in these types of relationships, you might say you absolutely can't fall in love with someone else, or you can't kiss them. You can only do this, you can only do that. And you're setting those boundaries for them to be, of what they would do in other, with other relationships, or you can only have sex, or you can only do oral sex, or whatever it is that you want. And so we had to set those clear boundaries and communicate. And so I would say I'm not predominantly a polyamorous person, I'm predominantly monogamous, but I've learned stuff from being in a polyamorous relationship, and I would say I'm just open. So, if a relationship comes up and it's poly, cool. If it's monogamous, cool. I prefer monogamous, but I'm still very open, because I also feel like relationships are fluid, you know.
I agree. I'm monogamous is my preference, but
Hmm.
I've also done poly. I've done polyamory, polygamous. I would love to say that my polygamous relationship taught me those things that you learned. However,
Hmm.
mine were not very open. They were lacking in communication. And I'm a super open person, and I feel like if the communication would have been right, the relationship could have actually been sustained. So,
Hmm.
um, I've seen the opposite aspect of where communication and trust were lacking in the relationship, and the relationship was not as successful versus your experience where you actually grew from it So I'm like, again, you and I are like on opposite ends of the spectrum. But yeah, I would love to have a conversation, at another time, speaking on relating, at least our experiences on relating, because I'm curious.
Yes, yes. Girl, we got so much we could talk about. So much. And I love the way it just flows, like from one topic to the next. Like, and a lot of times we're in the same place, we've had similar experiences, and then other times the opposite.
Right,
So it's kind of cool because not opposite in the sense where it negates what somebody else is saying, but just different experiences where,
right.
so it's been kind of cool. It's cool talking to you.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you. I love it too. Oh, we've got somebody else just joined.
Yes.
Let's talk about this WAP.
Yes, yes. So as you're joining, say hello. Let us know if you have any questions about consent, boundaries, double standards in general on relationships. And we're about to go into WAP a little bit. We'll ask
My
away.
camera is like, my camera just got blurry all of a sudden. It's driving me bananas. It's all
I
good.
think you got hot. That heat is like,
Is that
making that thing. And WAP, and
one
I
too
think
many
WAP.
sissies?
Yeah. And WAP is actually good for the double standards, right?
Yeah.
Because men have been rap, hip hop, talking about what they're gonna do to pussy, talking about all this stuff. Um, Danny Brown, he had a concert like what? It was like what? How many years ago? So many years in 2013 or something like that. Woman got up on the stage to oral sex on him. It was great. Nobody was saying anything. Now we have Cardi B and Meg Thee Stallion talking about they have wet pussies and talking about how much they love sex and what they want to do and making money from it. And these men are going crazy. Like
Oh my goodness. It's not even just men. There
they're not
are
even
women
just men.
as well that are going crazy. You know what's so crazy is that what was it like last year? Um Jill Scott. Jill
Mm-hmm.
Scott did
Yes.
something and
Yeah, with the
everybody,
microphone, and she was like oral sex on the microphone.
I was
I
like, yes,
love
I
that.
don't get it. And people were like, I don't like her anymore. She didn't have to do that. Blah, blah, blah.
Right,
And I'm like, have you listened to her song? She's been singing about this. She's been singing about relating. She's been singing about some form of sensual and touch, etc. And yet, like, do you think that she doesn't do that? Like,
right.
why is it an issue?
Hmm. And why does sexuality have to be so separate from us? Like, why does it have to be something so ooh or so bad or you're going to hell? Well, we know where that comes from. We've talked about that several times, right?
Right.
You know, so, but it's like you take someone and you're like, I love their music, I love this. Now that they're talking about sex, which is a natural thing, it's like, oh, I don't like them anymore. That's just, oh, they're so vulgar. And
Right.
this is why Return to Eden is so important as well. This is why it's so important for us to do this workshop and not only just do this workshop, but to be able to do it in the nude. And you might feel uncomfortable, but you're going to get to the point where you don't have to come in naked. It's a process. We can start taking it off slowly as you're getting comfortable, but it's a process where you feel free. I've done so many workshops here when people have just been like, oh my God, I can't. And then eventually they start to feel free and they start to feel more comfortable with themselves.
And
So,
we also normalize our bodies as beautiful, artistic, divine beings instead of, ooh, look, it's really that hypersexualization that we experience in society and marketing and all of that stuff. Like these women rapping and singing about sex and sexuality is okay. It's not okay. But if they were getting paid to represent some, Apple or, you know what I mean? Somebody, Nike
mhm,
or somebody needed to come up, it would be convenient. It's okay then.
it's okay because sex sells. Sex
Right.
sells. But then if you're selling sex for your own personal, hey, I want to pay my way through college. So let me go, have sex with men and make money. Oh, there's something wrong with that. I want to make money so I can buy me a cell phone. But like
Right.
you said, you could sell it for Nike, McDonald's, or whatever, and it's okay.
Right. Um, Even just being typecast, I'm looking at a Healers Playground's comment on being in the industry, and people expect them to be sexual, to
Mm-hmm.
so someone may or may not be asexual, right? And that too, you get typecast. You get typecast.
Right.
There's women who are deemed to be sexual, and it's like, oh, okay, these are the sexual women, and so they make their money by being sexual. But again, it comes back to hypersexualizing women's bodies, right?
Yeah.
And then anytime a woman comes from a space of empowerment, it's like, oh no,
Right.
we gotta shut it down. We gotta shut it down.
Right.
Don't do it from a space of empower. You can be disempowered and you can
Mm-hmm.
be typecast, and we can sexualize you, but don't you sexualize yourself.
Right. Right. That's just so crazy. That's so crazy. That's so crazy. That's so crazy. And historically, that comes from the woman's body has never been ours. It's always been for the man, for someone else. Historically, if you were married and your husband wanted to have sex and you said no, and he could rape you, and you could not press charges against your husband for raping you. Like
Right. There
our
were men
bodies
who
were,
were having their wives committed. They could have
yes,
them committed. If they didn't want their wife anymore, they couldn't divorce her. They would just have her committed.
right. That's so crazy. And I'm Healers Playground saying exactly it's one way or another, but men can be free, be however they are, and that is going to change though. It is going to change. It's starting to change now. Right now we're in a time where a lot of things are changing. A lot of things has to change, you know. And historically, men, they could have sex with whoever they want, and they're the man. Oh yeah, he's a man. He's an OG. He's Don Juan. A woman, the minute she's owning her sexuality, having sex, she's a hoe, she a slut. You know, all of these negative things. All of these negative things, but men could do it. And such a double standard, such a double standard,
Even the
and
word
that's
vagina, though, is a sheath for his sword. Like, we're
yes.
referring to our center, our power center, as a sheath for his sword. Why?
Mm-hmm. Right. And that's why I use yoni. I much prefer that. I mean, sacred portal space.
Right.
Um, and so I much prefer that. And yeah, and keeping along that logic, our G spot is named after a man, the Grafenberg spot, the Skene gland, where ejaculation comes from. Skene is a male. The Bartholin gland, that's also named after a man, Bartholin, and that's a gland where the lubrication comes from for a woman when she's hot and bothered and get wet. So everything around us it has to do, with the man. So Judah says that's not always the case. What are you referring to? Because I think it might have been something that was said earlier, Judah. What's not always the case? If you can let us know. Do you know what he's referring to?
I don't. I don't. I don't.
Yeah.
We kind of went through.
Yeah, we went on so many different topics.
We went through a little gamut just now.
Yes. I
Oh my God,
think
when you were talking about like the skin and all the different glands, and I was about to say, I bet they didn't find the name the clitoris though.
right.
Like, half the time they can't find it.
Right. Half the times they can't.
I was so bothered when I realized that they didn't even discover the whole entire, like that the clitoris was a whole internal piece
Mhm.
until just, what was it, like 12, 13
Recently.
years ago? Yeah, it
Yeah.
was like somewhere like in the last like 12, 13 years. I'm like, what? A whole entire organ that is like just designed specifically for pleasure, and yet just now discovering that it is an
Mhm.
internal external piece.
And historically, they thought they were like, oh, clitoris, there's no purpose for it. Well, there's the unique purpose we know is for pleasure, right? But they're like, no purpose for it. They've actually cut it off on so many women. There's
I
surgeries.
know. Oh, and
Yes,
in Africa, they still do that.
and they
They're
still do that in
actually
Africa.
fighting to have that be stopped.
Yes, yeah, yes. Cynthia says, yeah, like it's like it's just so. There's a word that I'm trying to think of that's not coming to my mind. That's kind of in the tip of my tongue, but mutilation. female mutilation, genital mutilation.
Yeah, that's
And
a big
honestly,
one.
and they still do that to men here, even in the U.S. with the removing
Circumcision.
the circumcision.
Yeah,
So that also, and I do want to say, people who are going to be having kids, when you remove that, you're taking away so much pleasure that the man can have. Because when you uncircumcised men, they feel so much more pleasure. So when you remove that foreskin, you're removing, a lot of the nerve endings, and so it takes away from the amount of pleasure that they can have. So that's still a form of genital mutilation,
right.
that's still happening today. So, and honestly, you don't need to remove that. You pull it down and you could clean it. Men, you can clean it. There's really no reason that you can have a lot of bacteria and get infections. There's so many men in other countries, majority of men in other countries don't get circumcised. And it's not stinky, it's not dirty, it's not nasty. It's stinky and dirty and nasty whether you get uncircumcised or not, and you just don't clean yourself. But if you're cleaning yourself and you learn how, there's no reason that you need to do that. So we get a lot of comments here. So I have a friend that was a victim of that in Africa, female mutilation. Yeah, it's horrible. Um, and then she says they did it partially because the full way is illegal in their country. So in order to still practice it, they partially do the genital mutilation for females. That's so crazy. And Judah says, "You mean I've missed out on my life?" Yeah, unfortunately, you could have been feeling so much more, but it's okay. I'm sure you're still feeling a lot.
Right.
I hope so.
Oh my
So
goodness.
anyway, we got a few last minutes. If anyone has any questions, comments, let's talk really quick about Return to Eden for those who have not heard about it yet, so they can know about it. Hillis Fairgrounds, LOL. Um, Another commercial break, real quick. So don't forget to hit the subscribe button while you're here. If you have not subscribed to my channel, hit that like bell and the notification bell so that you can receive notifications from my upcoming videos. Yeah, it is sad. It is sad.
Mhm.
We, especially, people who live in the US, because I don't know where everyone lives that's here watching, but especially in the US, Americans have this thing where you feel like, oh, we know it all. We do everything. We're doing everything the best. But honestly, there's a lot of things that's backwards, that's practiced in the US that you find in other countries they're not doing. I've dated a lot of Latino. I live in Brazil, and they don't do circumcision. I haven't seen anyone get any infections or have anything. It's not so common. It's very rare. So again, what is the purpose of doing circumcision? I would really like someone to tell me what is the true purpose of circumcision.
Right.
You know,
It's creating a
and I,
sexual trauma as well. It's creating a trauma for these babies. They're not
mm-hmm,
even aware of, but it really their body is storing a trauma around their sexuality and around around their penis. It's like, what? Here, baby. Thank you. Like, I'm so glad you came to experience life with me. Let me traumatize you really quickly.
right. Right. So, those of you that's watching right now are going to watch later. If you haven't had kids and you're going to have kids, think about that. Really think about it if you want to have, and you have a son, if you want to have them circumcised, because it really isn't needed. That's going to be your choice, but do the research and see. And a lot of this work is about, realizing what we're doing on the sexually speaking to our kids, to ourselves. A lot of this is about repressing the sexual energy because we have a lot of power and control through our sexual energy, a lot of power and control through sexuality. And so a lot of it is about repressing that sexual energy, being so that we can be controlled and dominated. So I am not a conspiracy theorist, but I will say through time and experience and through this, sexuality is very powerful, it's very strong. And, when we cut that, then people are more anxious, more stressed out, more anxiety, which means you're going to start buying more medication. control, right? They're controlling you through medication. Then when you're not feeling fulfilled, you're gonna be buying more things, buying all the best, the biggest house, the biggest cars to try to fulfill something. But if you're connected to your sexual being, your sexuality, which is your essence, your vital life force energy, you won't need to seek something externally to make you feel better.
Right.
You
I
know?
love that. That's so true. So true.
Yeah.
When the farther away we go from ourselves, the more we rely on external things. So it really is about coming back into self, right? Coming back into
Hmm.
center and connection with yourself. And what better way than joining us for Return to Eden?
Yes,
We're going to
yes.
do sensual play and touch and all of those things. So I'm excited.
Yeah, it's going to be great. And so you could come alone if you're single or if you have a partner. We're going to be having you're going to, bring different items. So for the different sensual touch exercises, you can find information at bit.ly/returntoeden.com, or you can also go to my website, www.prandataprim.com, upcoming events, and you'll see that on there. So it's August 29th. And it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be fun. We're going to be doing the work. We're going to really go in, do some meditation, breath work. We're going to have a good conversation like this. So it's going to be great. Um, $44. Uh, so
Send you
it's,
the link again. Me and my slashes. You said slash, and I was like, wait a minute, there's no slash there.
oh, you know what? There isn't. Wait. Oh, there
There
isn't
is
a slash.
there
Right.
isn't
I was
slash.
saying it, but it wasn't there.
You were
Thanks.
saying it, but it wasn't there, and that was because I didn't send it. When I sent it, I didn't put it there. So thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. And I didn't even catch that, but good. Yes, y'all do. LOL. The whole delay with this, I never know what people are talking about sometimes. It's like, it could have been 10 things earlier. So I don't know what it is that we do. I don't know, but we do. That's awesome.
We do
So,
many things. We do many things. We love them all, right?
yes. So sign up, go to my site, my website, www.prandataprim.com, upcoming events for more information, or go to bit.ly/returntoeden.com. And now I just added the .com. Is here .com? But you guys will find it. And we got more information. So you want to share with people how they can find you, connect with you?
Absolutely. You can find me. Well, it's just got all my information up there. The Butterfly Mystic or Venus Moon Creations. If you're looking for pussy tea or just some women's empowerment, I'm
Wait,
doing
wait,
my
wait, wait, wait. You just went through fast through that. If they want some what tea?
some pussy. Oh, excuse me, pussy tea. This
Dang, I think I want some pussy
right.
tea. What is that? Tell us what
You know
that
what?
is.
I had a shirt that said pussy tea, and I changed out of it too. I was like, I'm just gonna do a little subliminal here, in
Right.
your face. Maybe next time I'll wear my shirt. So pussy tea is an herbal loose leaf tea, which makes you super juicy. And I've actually
Mm.
had a surge of men who have been purchasing it a lot lately and speaking to how amazing they feel. And they've left me a lot of really great reviews on how the Damiana is good for men as well. I've got a new tea coming out called the Ding-a-ling Elixir. So I'm gonna make sure I take care of men as well.
Okay, so Alex, who says he wants to connect with you, connect with her and get that ding-a-ling mixture. So tell Alex about the ding-a-ling mixture.
So I've got two male teas that are coming up that are good for libido and also like cleansing the sperm. So we want to make sure we take care of the prostate and things like that as we get older. But it also has aphrodisiacs, just because I love playing with aphrodisiacs. And the pussy
Yeah.
tea is, I've got 3 different pussy teas, and they're all designed to make women juicy. Some have like heart openers
Mm.
and different emotional aspects. So I'm excited to like get that. I see Judah. He's like, what is pussy tea?
I'm excited too. Yeah, I think that came after, so you just explained that.
Oh, right,
Um,
right.
yeah, so awesome. So you guys can connect with Chamica at the Butterfly Mystic or Venus Moon Creations. And if you're going to be watching and you follow Tamika, you can follow me as well on Instagram at Prandata Prim underscore Tantra or Sacred Soul Retreats on Instagram. Twitter and Facebook is the same, Renee Adolph. And I also have Patreon, Patreon/Prandata Prim. Um, if you want to follow me there on Patreon and support me, Patreon is a membership exclusive where you get exclusive tips and exercises on Tantra that I don't put anywhere else. It's only for my Patreon members. And Patreon, it's a community, so it's about building community. So the membership starts at just $5 a month, going all the way up to 50. So any membership, and you can start, stop whenever you want. I got tons of great videos that you will not find on YouTube. I have tons of great videos, tantric tips, self exploration tips on masturbation, meditation, tantric Tuesdays I have. So really great stuff. So check me on Patreon/Prandata Prim, and my website is www.prandataprim.com. So Alex, oh, Judah said, Alex, get in line. That's so funny. I love it. I love it. So, any other thoughts, comments before we head out? People going once, going twice. So, thank you guys for coming on and watching and being here and commenting. Um, Please check out Return to Eden. Go to my website or the bit.ly. It's on the YouTube channel, it's on the YouTube link. And we hope to see you on August 29th. So thank you and love you guys. Judah's cracking up. And so is Alex.
Thank you
I
so
think they're
much
going to be
for having
fighting for you, girl.
Pre-order that
So
dingling elixir now.
yeah, so order that ding-a-ling, and then I think you can try and talk to her. But I think you gotta order that first, then try to step up because she already said she got a high sex drive. And the Healers Playground said, great show. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. If you guys have not subscribed, subscribe because you're going to have fun. You're going to learn a lot and have fun while learning. And again, don't forget to hit that notifications bell. And I see you guys liked it, so make sure you gave that thumbs up, okay? All right. And Judah says, yeah, can't wait for the next one. All right. Can't wait to have you for the next one too. So, and I think Shamika, I think we probably should have one more, maybe one more before the 29th. One last one, either here or on Instagram again. Let's do Instagram. I can start it. I can start it this time. You started it that way. I can
Yeah,
save
yeah.
it.
I forgot to.
So we'll talk about that. And C Powell 62629. Thank you. Um, thank you guys for coming on. Add me on Instagram, Prandata Prim underscore Tantra. And Judah says I'm always hungry too. All right, guys. So thank you. You guys have a wonderful night and talk to you later. Bye.